one, I cannot be the two. Why you on a perimeter, can't even shoot? Oh, you got a whack at jump. We gon' make it rain, no thunder. I ain't tryna sit on the phone, tryna.
All right, y'all. As I sit here today, as I sit here right now, the game's not even over, but I just need to get on here and talk. Obviously, this is gonna be my full week 3 recap, but I need to start with my New York Giants. Um, I was hopeful, not in the beginning of the season, but knowing how the Chiefs have played recently and how we played last week against the Cowboys, I thought maybe, just maybe, like you could just, the moons will align, but just like my hands, they never did. And the game's over now. There it is. Game's over. I don't even know where to start. Fire Shane Bowen. That's a good start. I love Brian Dayball, or I thought I did, but he's gonna have to go too. Cam, ASU guy, love it. Russ. Russ was I like Russ as a person. I think he's a good human being. Maybe his head did get a little too big in Denver. Lowered it back down in Pittsburgh, but this is raw reaction, my fault. But it was just bad. You can see Russ out there really hunting for the deep ball and throwing deep balls to, I don't know, 4 foot nothing Wandale. I love Wandale. 4 foot nothing Wandale Robinson. Triple coverage. There was a great play he made over the middle, Wandale did. But I don't really love sending my smallest receiver over the middle. But hey, I don't make the play calls. It's just Malik not having a catch till like the third quarter, fourth quarter. It was bad. There's no reason ever that you could not run a quick screen, a tunnel screen, a hitch route, anything to your number one rival. Me personally, and again, I'm no offensive coordinator, but I would start off every game with a jet sweep. I mean, even if it's AJ Brown or something like that, but I'm just thinking about the Eagles and Rams game I was watching earlier. But if my number one wide receiver is versatile enough that I can give him a jet sweep, a quick screen, a quick out, a slant, just throw it his way. So I know everybody knows that it's going to him. I don't care. Throw him the ball. He's our I don't know if he's our best player. Brian Burns is probably. I don't know. Sexy Dexy, he hasn't had a great season thus far, but Malik is the best player on the offense. Let's start there. Andrew Thomas is a hell of a player, but can you say it healthy? Malik Neighbors is the best player on our offense. Get him the ball, please. As a team that doesn't have many weapons, it's not weapons galore. It's not like when I look at the Chiefs that they take wide receivers that weren't good for the Patriots or for the Steelers or for wherever they came from, the Packers, and in MVS and Thornton and Juju, obviously Hollywood Brown. They take players that didn't work anywhere else, and somehow they just work for the Chiefs. And obviously Patrick Mahomes is not. Obviously Russell Wilson isn't Patrick Mahomes, and Dayball isn't Andy Reid, but it's the same concept. I have good players. Let's get good players the ball in space. Let's scheme up something for my best players to shine and to kind of hide my other players. Tyquan Thornton, I'm sure they don't want him running comebacks and things. But every time I turn on a Chiefs game, he's running down the sideline, Patrick Mahomes throwing balls. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, mind you, and their offense is so diverse when their running game hasn't been good all year. Their leading rusher today, it was finally Isaiah Pacheco. But I believe their leading rusher on the season coming into this game was Patrick Mahomes. So you're telling me they can't run the ball? Their top two wide receivers, top three wide receivers aren't playing. Travis isn't having a good year either. But yet they can throw the ball. If I had a passing chart of Patrick Mahomes, he can throw the ball all around the field. Their scheme allows players to be open wherever they want to be. They can do anything on offense. Whatever play call Andy Reid has cooked up. Mind you, the thing that I never got is once the play is on film, anybody can run it. Anybody can have it. Obviously, you have to have the right personnel, but anybody can run these plays. It's not like once the Chiefs run a play, nobody else can run it. So you have access to the Chiefs playbook. It's on Madden, matter of fact. You can just pull up Madden and pull their playbook and run plays from their playbook. But I don't even want to. And that's just offensively. I'm not. Let's get to Jackson Dart. I understand having a package for him with what he does best with the read options, maybe changing the math on, the holes for Cam or Tracy if Tracy stays, if he comes back healthy. It changes the math. I understand read options, all that good stuff makes the defenders, take a step before they come straight down and tackle the running back or rush the pass or whatever the case may be. But to run those two plays with Jackson, mind you, you gave it both times. And then to run the exact play you were just running with Russ, put Russ back in the game and run it. And guess what? It doesn't work. I just don't even know what we're thinking at that point. Like, sometimes you just gotta breathe in, breathe out. Okay, Jackson Dart. Why are we down 22-9 and Jackson Dart isn't playing? What are we waiting for? Like, I understand Russ had his renaissance last week. Great. Congrats. I'm happy for you. But we knew that wasn't sustainable, right? I think all the Giants fans were like, wow, look at Russ, It's like what Shannon Sharp said. I can't give it to you every night. I can't give it to you back to back to back like I used to. But every once in a while, Aaron Rodgers did it. You know what I'm saying? Every once in a while, I can have one of those games and I'm like, wow, Joe Flacco can do it. I don't even want to say Kirk, but you know what I'm saying? Like, these older quarterbacks may not be able to stack it up like they used to. But every once in a while, they could do it for you. You know what I'm saying? So we knew this wasn't consistent. Like, this wasn't something that we were going to be able to do over and over. But I'm just wondering why, when we're down 22-9, the game finished 22-9. Nobody scored in the last couple drives. So why are when we down 22-9 with 5 minutes left, Jackson Dart is not in the game? Even Anthony Richardson got some, not even a snap, but he got on the field, did the blah, blah, blah before the game ran out. Why is Jackson Dart not getting any run? So you run him during the game. Whatever plays you want him to run during the game, you have his package. But when the game's already out of reach, 5 minutes left. Again, 5 minutes left at home, 22-9. No Jackson. The fans would have loved to see Jackson Dart out there. 5 minutes left? Why not? I don't care if he throws 3 picks in those 5 minutes. I want to see him. I need him to get his snaps. Okay. With that being said, our defense. Our defense looked good. I feel pretty good about the defense. I don't love, that's why I started off with Shane Bowen. I don't love how we have Abdul Carter playing off-ball linebacker. I understand the concept of maybe you can get more one-on-one where maybe the center or somewhere on the left side, following behind or opposite to Brian. It's a great idea in theory. But when you have such a special talent, just let him rush. You know what I'm saying? I know, this is a sneaky way to get all three on just rotate them through, shuffle them. I don't know. It's just our defensive line should be the best in the league. I think it is the best in the league, talent based. But we're not producing like it. There's one play that I feel like I'll talk about it on TikTok. I definitely feel like I think Brian Burns was the one being held while Patrick Mahomes like did the loop-de-loop to the sideline, threw the ball before the half and got the PI call, which don't even get me started about PI calls in the NFL. I don't think they should be. First of all, I don't believe every underthrow that a receiver has to work their way through the DB to get should be automatic PI. Some of them are uncatchable, even if the receiver did work their way back. But we're just awarding quarterbacks for just launching it down the field, but not all the way there. You know what I'm saying? Just underthrows. And then the numbers, this is a whole different, it's a little bit of a tangent, but the numbers difference from 2018, 2022 even, I know they said like shell coverage ruined the game because, quarterbacks used to have way more yards, wide receivers used to be, everybody used to be over 1,000 or whatever the case may be. But I really feel like with the new kickoff rules that shorten the field, because all the drives are starting at the 40, if we would turn PI into a 15-yard instead of a spot foul, like in that play, Patrick Mahomes threw the ball like 70 yards. Congrats, it was PI down the field. But now you only get the 15 yards, and you still have to work your way down the field, which might even out the stats. But that's just me talking. I've done 10 minutes on this game, and I'm not done. I guess we got to talk about the Chiefs because I think I'm done with the Giants. Not done with the Giants, but you know what I'm saying, done talking about the Giants. The Chiefs, I mean, they won. They beat the Giants. I don't know if I'm too excited about it. I think they look the same that they did the last couple weeks. It was just their opponents were a lot less. if we're being frank. So I don't, as a Chiefs fan, I don't know if you're excited about this. Obviously, you're happy to get a win, but it's not in your division. It's not even in your conference. So why does it really matter that much? It's on the road, so I guess that's impressive. But there was no play that was made, nor performance that was had, nor you know what I'm saying. Nobody was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be important for next week when you guys play Baltimore Ravens." I don't think anything happened in this game to make me feel differently about what I think is going to happen next week, which I don't think it's going to go in the Chiefs' favor. Not the way they've been playing this season, but injuries are a big deal, so maybe that'll change, but we'll see. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about this game specifically. So moving on to another game that I watched entirely, Rams Eagles. Rams, you guys let me down. I'm not an Eagles hater, but they are in my division. You know what I'm saying? They are in my conference, and they did just win the Super Bowl. And Saquon Barkley, the player that did used to play for me, now plays for them. So I guess you can call me an Eagles hater. Why did you guys let go of the rope? And Rams fans were talking crazy on Twitter during halftime. What was the score at halftime? 19-7. It looked real good. It looked real good. And then Jalen Hurts started throwing the ball. And although I'm an Eagles hater, I like Jalen Hurts. I think obviously his poise, his confidence, but when we're talking about his skill set, I think he is capable of being a better passer than what they let, not what they let him do, but what works for them. Because if I can run Saquon Barkley, 1,000 times a season for 3,000 yards, I'm gonna do it too. Obviously, just like with Christian McCaffrey, the way he's playing for the 49ers, and we'll talk about that for a second. But if I can hand the ball off to Saquon 2, 3 times in a drive, and then pass the ball to Saquon another 2, 3 times a drive, I'm gonna do it too. Short stings that move the sticks 3, 4, 5 yards. It's nice. Um, but I just don't know what happened to the Rams, and I just think they got shell shocked to the fact that Jalen Hurts started throwing the ball, and the field goal is running on the screen, so it's making me think of it. But really, I don't. That wasn't the play of the game. Uh, Special teams was a big deal this week. Everybody had some block punts, block kicks, all that good stuff. But the Rams, everything was working for them. Puka was looking like a top two. Let me slow down. A top 3, 4 receiver in the league, as he normally does with Matthew Stafford and that Sean McVay offense. Kyron Williams running the ball great, but really they were getting stalled. I think the Eagles defense played better than what 26 points looks like because of the way they played in the red zone. I believe the commentator said they were like 2 for 5 in the red zone. The Rams were. So even though the Rams got to the red zone multiple times, edge of the red zone multiple times, they weren't able to capitalize, which what led Philly, or allowed Philly, to get back into this game in the second half. Obviously, I think the biggest deal about this was that AJ Brown got the ball. Just like I was talking about the Giants, there's no reason, and I can't say no reason for this team. They won a Super Bowl playing the way they play. They win a lot of games playing the way they play. But I still feel like AJ Brown, you see 6 receptions for 109 yards on the screen right now and a touchdown. There's no reason why he should have less than 60, 80 yards a game, just off the fact that you can run play action, play action, play action, and he'll be wide open. You literally can only run two. You can have just 2 wide receivers, him and Devontae, 2 tight ends, and call it a day. Like, there's so many ways you can scheme this man open without going away from heavy run game, Saquon, quarterback, tush push, all that good stuff. I think this is good for the Eagles. The fact that it looked like they weren't getting much on the ground recently. Well, I know they weren't getting much on the ground recently from Saquon Barkley, but I believe in Jalen Hurts. I believe he's capable of making these plays. He just has to be in the right situation to make them. And I don't mean that team-wise, even though obviously the team helps. I mean that game situation-wise. If the running game was working and they were tied, Jalen Hurts wouldn't be throwing the ball. If the running game was working and they were behind, I still think they would be running the football to get back in the game. They wouldn't try to throw it. But the fact that the running game wasn't doing as much and the Rams were ready for it, but they bet against Jalen and they lost. I think that's the biggest story with this. Bad loss for the Rams. I don't know if I love this matchup on the Eagles though in the playoff time, but this was a bad loss for the Rams. And real quick, we could talk about this Cardinals 49ers games I'm watching. Again, I'm on the West Coast. So I'm in Arizona, so I usually get every NFC West divisional matchup game. Every NFC West game in general. I'm watching the Cardinals a lot. I'm watching the 49ers a lot. Even though I don't care for these teams, much less these quarterbacks, but it was on, so I'm going to talk about it. The Cardinals defense was a lot better than I thought. I can't even say that because Mac Jones was playing. Listen, Ricky Pearsall was the name of the game. I feel bad for James Conner for his injury. I think not only a great back, but I think he's a good person. I don't know him personally, but you know what I'm saying. Kyler Murray, I never believed in him. West, that's his quarterback. Again, I live in Arizona. A lot of people are Cardinals fans or Cowboys fans, but I never believed in Kyler Murray. He was great in college, size wise, stylistically. I just don't think he's it. Um, Cardinals can keep him though. I think he's good enough to not get traded. You know what I'm saying? To keep getting signed. He makes amazing enough plays where you're like, oh wow, look at that. Um, but Mac Jones, Brock Purdy, Mac Jones. I don't know if that's fair to say because I think Brock is more physically gifted than Mac Jones. But Mac Jones did play at Alabama. He's been playing better competition his whole life than Brock Purdy did in Iowa. I don't know. I'm the weeks are stacking up. Again, I thought Mac Jones lost his opportunity when he threw the pick with like 2 minutes left. But then the Cardinals and Gannon, I think they went for it on like 3rd and 9, didn't get it. They passed it. Anyways, they ended up punting the ball back and they had a chance. Mac Jones didn't carve him up down the field, but made enough plays down the field to set up that game-winning kick that you've seen. Plus, the kick before that, I believe, got blocked. Again, kicks were getting blocked all over the place. Kicking has been a problem. Special teams have been good for the teams defending, but special teams had also been a problem for the teams kicking. Not only this week, for the weeks back. So Mac Jones doing what he did. I'm not gonna say I'm impressed. I think this does become an interesting conversation next week to see if Brock is healthy. Is he 80% and they play Mac anyways because they're getting wins, or does Brock force his way back because he's nervous about his job? I mean, he did just get paid, so maybe he can't be that nervous. But Ricky Pearsall, hell of a day, man. Ricky Pearsall, Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. is supposed to be this tremendous generational talent. I don't want to compare him to Shador because Shador actually didn't get his chance. But Marvin Harrison, maybe it's Kyler Murray, maybe it's the offensive scheme, maybe it's the offensive coordinator, who knows? But that one drop that he had, and if you watch the game or if you're on social media at all, you know what drop I'm talking about. It was a bad drop. Um, that's not Kyler. That's not the offensive scheme. That's not even the defense. He was literally wide open. Maybe the sun was in his eye. I don't know. But Marvin Harrison doesn't look good. This conversation, this connection between Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison doesn't look good, and that's disappointing. Personally, we can move on to the Miami Buffalo game. This game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, but it still was. It's the end result was still the same. Miami just coming up short. If you didn't watch the pre-game interviews, and I don't think it was right before the game, I think it was the day before or so. Tua was talking about Josh Allen like he's Superman, and I understand Josh Allen literally is Superman. He has so many gifts, like the Patricks and the Lamars of the world, um, physically, mentally, with his arms, with his legs. He got it going on, right? But when Tua gets on the mic and says, "Yeah, Josh can do things I could never dream of doing. He's just so amazing," and this, it's kind of demoralizing. If I was a Dolphins fan, like just say, "Yeah, Josh is a way better runner than me. I can't do those things with my legs." But when you talk about arm strength, previously he made a comment to Tua talking about oh, Tyreek knows that when he's downfield, he's gonna have to come back a little bit because I can't make it that far. And then in the game, in the third quarter, there was a crazy underthrow that Tua had, and kind of it's exactly what Tua said was gonna happen. Tyreek could have been open downfield if I don't know Patrick Mahomes was throwing the ball, Josh Allen was throwing the ball, somebody with a stronger arm was throwing the ball. But since it was Tua, it was a major underthrow. PI wasn't even called. It was just so far underthrown. Nobody had a chance on the ball. And then that fourth quarter pick for Tua was just really bad. Tua said himself, he doesn't have the physical gifts as some of these other quarterbacks, so he can't make these mental errors. If you're trying to move a defender with your eyes, you have to be conscious that you're moving all the defenders with your eyes. You can't look to the flat to move this corner defender down to the flat and don't think the linebacker is going to scoot over when you try to hit the window that you just created. That's just, again, I never played quarterback. I never played NFL quarterback, but I play Madden. I could see, oh, the quarterback is looking this way. Let me gravitate towards this. So if you're moving one defender, you think you're moving multiple defenders. And he just never saw that linebacker come down, pick, and it was just bad. A lot of people are going to get fired. 49ers might benefit from having Mike McDaniels back, just like Robert Saleh, but who knows? So obviously another shocking game that happened over the weekend was the Packers losing to the Browns. And the Packers are my I think I had Ravens Packers originally, after the Micah trade, obviously not originally, but I'm definitely taking the Ravens out of there. I definitely see Packers Buccaneers now. I know they're in the same conference. I'm talking about NFC conference game. NFC championship game, I mean. But on the other side, I'm not feeling the Ravens. And we're going to get to the Ravens game. I'm recording this part on a Tuesday. So yesterday, the Ravens I can't even say embarrassed us because that's really me with the Lakers. But the Ravens were embarrassing if you were a Ravens fan. But Packers losing to the Browns. Listen, I understand that the Browns are projected to be a 3-4 win team. I understand that the hype has been all behind the Packers. But they weren't going undefeated, regardless of, I forget the player's name, regardless of what he said, the Packers weren't going undefeated. And I don't think losing to the Browns is a bad loss. It's outside of the conference. I don't believe in all the pieces that the Browns have. I do believe in the coaching. I do believe in the defense. The offense has some room to improve. Browns still have a little bit of my heart because, Baker played for them. Odell played for them. They had a lot of good things going on. And this wasn't a good game for the Packers. I do like how Jordan Love only threw the ball 25 times. The issue is that he had an interception instead of a touchdown. If this was the same line, 18 for 25, 183 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but it was like 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, I could live with him only having 200 yards. That's fine. The issue is Josh Jacobs can't go for 16 carries for 30 yards. That's what can't happen. We don't want we as in Packers faithful. I'm not a Packers fan, but somebody that projected the Packers to go to Super Bowl. I don't think I want Jordan Love throwing the ball that much. So a game like this where the run game's not going and we have to put it on his shoulders, that's where it gets tricky. That's where we're going to see how far has Jordan Love progressed. Is he the next Hall of Fame quarterback that the Packers have? We don't know. We know the talent's there, absolutely. We know the coaching's right. We know the weapons are excellent. The O-line, I think, was really good. I know they were sacking Jordan Love quite a bit. And obviously that Jordan Love pick was terrible, which kind of, I know he didn't have that many attempts and he still threw a terrible pick. But those are the type of interceptions that I'm afraid of him throwing. Those and just the Brett Favre type, I can make whatever pass I want type interceptions. This one I think was just a mental error. At least the one if it's playing out in my head like how I remember it, it was just a bad decision. It wasn't like a overconfidence decision, if that makes sense. I think they have it. I think they have all the pieces they need. Again, not every loss is a bad loss. Not every loss is a good loss. I think this is a fine loss. It was a low-scoring game. You learn to grind it out. You get better in the run game. I don't want Jordan Love throwing the ball that many times because I am afraid of what he'll do with more than 30-ish pass attempts. So this wasn't a terrible loss for them. I know it was shocking because they were rolling and dudes were talking about, oh, we could have went undefeated this year, last year, the year before. You know what I'm saying? So, and obviously it's the Browns. But, I think the Browns are better than can't even say Panthers because with the Panthers it's the Falcons now, but maybe the Falcons are just that bad. And we'll talk about that game a little bit. I don't care about that game that much, but I don't think it's a terrible loss for the Packers. And maybe that's just me seeing it through, green and yellow glasses. I don't know, but I don't think it's that bad. Honestly, I'm looking at the score for the first time since last night. When I turned off the game, the Lions were up 2 scores in the fourth quarter after, I don't even know what happened. Derrick Henry fumbled, and then they scored after that. I think that's what happened. But yeah, I turned it off. The Ravens are frustrating. Again, this is coming from someone that projected them to be in the Super Bowl, but after the first loss, I took them out. The Ravens are a frustrating team. The Ravens, I believe, have more talent than the Detroit Lions. I believe. And I think, the ESPN analysts, all those people agree with me because beginning of the year, I think they had the number 1 roster, ranked number 1 roster, whatever that's worth. Derrick Henry, 12 carries, 50 yards, 1 touchdown. After that first drive, I don't think the first, I think they might have went 3-and-out. After the first touchdown drive, where he just took the ball, over and over, scored on a 30-something yard play. It looks good. It looks real good. Derrick Henry fantasy owners think they're having a big night. If you remember the last time they played the Lions. But I just think what happened in this game is that the Lions were tougher than the Ravens in their stadium. The Ravens defense couldn't make any plays. The Ravens defense got handled by the Lions offense. And this is a Lions offense that got whooped on by the Packers. And I know we don't like to do transitive properties, but I'm just saying the Lions didn't look good against the Packers. They looked good against the Bears, but hey, it's the Bears. We don't know where they're worth, even though they just put it on the Cowboys. But when we see the Ravens and Lions this year, I didn't think we expected to see the Ravens just get bullied, honestly. I think most of it happened in the run game. As you could tell, David Montgomery, 12 carries, 151 yards. That's insane. There's no way that should be happening. And I know the Ravens were missing a D lineman, a really good one. I forget his name. My apologies. But there's no reason why you should be getting whooped like that. Not only Cal Van Noy, there's another one missing too. But it looked bad. Mark Andrews looked good for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson looked nice. The running game was not. They did get whooped by the Detroit Lions at home. And it was bad. It was really bad. I don't think the score really tells you how bad it was. The Ravens had their moments. I think D-Hop played really well for them. A lot better than what he played for the Chiefs. I think D-Hop's making a tangible difference in this wide receiver room. Not because he's, Texans D-Hop or anything like that, but because he is getting some DPI calls. He's making some big plays in the end zone. And I just think in the red zone is where we're going to see his effect more than anything up the sideline. I think Lamar's confidence in him is tremendous. He's throwing the ball up to him when it doesn't even look like he's open. Could be some better balls thrown, but it looks really good. And the reason why I'm telling you that the Lions were whooping on the Ravens is because multiple times the Lions started their drives out before the 10-yard line, like their own 10-yard line, basically their own end zone. And each time they marched all the way down the field and scored. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing and demoralizing for a defense that your special teams did their job by either punting the ball or, off their initial kickoff and downing it inside the 5, inside the 10. But you can't stop the team from getting all the way to their end, to your end zone. It's embarrassing. That's not supposed to be happening, especially when you have the Ravens logo on your jersey. That's just not acceptable. And I I know the names on the Ravens defense. I know the talent on the Ravens defense, but this talent isn't. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know what it is, but it's not being put together properly. Shout out to Marlon Humphrey. I think he had a really good game. He made a couple splash plays. I thought he was over the hill last season, but last season he made some big plays. This year he's already making some really big plays. Maybe less in the passing game, but more, in the screen game, going through the linemen or the tight end that are in front of him, forcing the running back to bow out more than he wants to. Marlon Humphrey probably saved the touchdown. David Montgomery, I remember. Marlon Humphrey had some speed on him. I didn't think Marlon had that in him anymore, But that was an impressive tackle to save the touchdown by David Montgomery. And I just know, outside of Kyle Hamilton and I guess this game, Marlon Humphrey, I don't know if the Ravens players are in position to be making the plays. And you can see the Derrick Henry fumble. We're going to get to that, his struggles. But outside of those two players, I don't know if anybody has the instincts to be making these plays. I know they have the talent, but where are the big plays from the Ravens defense? Where are not only the big plays from the specialty players or even some of the linemen, but just getting whooped like that? Again, I was watching, it was 14-14 at halftime, and I felt in my heart that the Lions were whooping on the Ravens. And that's not how it's supposed to be. And then to Derrick Henry. Yeah, he's fumbling the ball. I think if you feed him the ball more, it'll be worth it, because I think Derrick Henry can take 20 carries and do 150 yards, because he will break off a couple. These fumbles are crucial. They're coming at bad times, but you can't give up on Derrick Henry. That's not a player you give up on. Maybe if Justice Hill was doing it, you know what I'm saying? But this is Derrick Henry. Feed him the ball over and over and over. And I get Lamar Jackson has improved every year as a quarterback. Maybe not MVP, the numbers every time, but his throws are better. His anticipation's getting better. They did mention it on the broadcast. He doesn't like to throw away the ball, but that comes with being a spectacular player. He thinks he can make every play, whether it be down the field or with his legs. You take it. I just think you got to keep feeding Derrick Henry. That's what you want to do. That's who you want to be. So be it. And to just run through the rest of these games that I don't quite frankly care about. The Colts are still rolling, impressive. Cam Ward is yet to get his first win. The Vikings put it on the Bengals. Carson Wentz, I don't think it had anything to do with him. It had to do with this Brian Flores defense. I'm wondering if Brian Flores will ever get another head coaching job. I'm very interested to see that. I know some of them will be available very soon. Probably his old job will be available pretty soon. Steelers over Patriots, that's my fault. I was higher on the Patriots, and their offense still doesn't look ready. And I guess it's just that. But I thought the combination of Mike Rabel and Josh McDaniel on the offense would make it to be not the old Patriots team, but a competent team. And it's not looking too hot just yet. I don't think the Steelers are a good team. So for them to lose to them, I don't like it. Jets, Buccaneers. Again, Baker's my guy. Just didn't feel like this game was worth talking about. It shouldn't have came down to what it came down to. People were talking about how Aaron Glenn was like, he seemed happy after the Bucks hit that field goal to win. After Baker Mayfield, drove the length of the field. Shout out Emeka Buka, even though he's a Ohio State wide receiver. I love wide receivers, and he's playing for Baker Mayfield, so I love it. So yeah, Aaron Glenn seemed to be happy, but I think he knows he's building. He knows where he's at with his team. His team went out and scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. I think he's happy. No happy with loss, but more a victory. He knows he's building a team and he's getting closer to where he wants to be. Raiders over Commanders. I mean, Commanders over Raiders. Geno Smith, I was never that high on you. Ashton Genty, I'm disappointed in you as a fantasy owner. Panthers Falcons. I did want to talk about this because last week I was telling y'all when Michael Penix was playing JJ McCarthy, I didn't see it. Even though the commentators were talking about, oh, he's so great. Look how he throws the ball so fast, anticipation, all that good stuff. I just don't see it. He's not athletic, which nowadays you usually are more mobile and stuff like that. You usually are more mobile and stuff like that, but he's not. His picks were bad. They should have been 2 pick-sixes, honestly. Jackson, I think the DB has to take that back. I think this game had more to do with the Falcons and their bad kicking and bad quarterback play rather than the Panthers. But I don't want to be too down on the Panthers. I don't believe in Bryce Young either. But we'll see what happens. Jags over Texans. I mean, Texans offense is bad. I don't know how, because I thought C.J. Stroud was a good quarterback, but this had more to do with the Texans offense. And the Texans are 3-0. I didn't even notice. They don't feel like a 3-0 team, but their offense is really that bad. Broncos versus Chargers. The story of the game here was Bo Nix and how bad he's been playing. Everybody was really high on the Broncos before. I think that Broncos defense is still good, but it's not what it used to be, or not what it was last year. I want to say used to be. Justin Herbert's probably leading the MVP charge right now with his, he's 3-0, but he's playing excellent as a quarterback himself. He's not getting carried by the run. Saints over Seahawks. Shout out Pat, man. This was bad for him. I think it was like 38-3 in the first half or something like that. It was bad. 38-6 maybe. Yeah, if I do this math right, I don't know. Yeah, 38-6. It was bad for him. It was really bad. But again, Garrett Nussmeier might be staying in Louisiana. That's what it looked like. I wanted to spend time on this, but then again, I really don't know what either of these teams are. I don't know if this means a lot for the Bears because the Cowboys' D is so bad. It's terrible. So yeah, the Bears get their first win of the season. Ben Johnson gets his first win of the season as a head coach. But this might just be the Cowboys have a really bad defense. They let Russ do that to him the week before that. Jalen couldn't really exploit it the week before that because he's not that type of quarterback. But I don't know. I'm still believing in Caleb. This was a great showing for him, but 19 completions, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. I don't think that's I don't think you can duplicate 19 completions, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, unless it's against a really bad pass defense, which this is. But yeah, we move on to week 3. Catch me on TikTok. Till then.
Thanks for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. If you don't agree with any of my takes, we can argue about it. Get on the podcast, get in the comments, whatever you want to do. You can subscribe to my channel right here. In this other corner, you should get with my TikTok and my Twitter. And in this corner right here, you can watch any more reaction videos, vlogs, or watch any more takes. Till then, see y'all. God bless.